song, strangely familiar. I've heard this one. Get out the way to get it out. Get out the way, let it out. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Fall asleep at the wheel of a life you choose. Am I doing my best or trying too hard? Is it all in vain, all this pain? Looking for that peace of mind. Catch glimpses of it from time to time. Laughing with you or singing a song. Yeah, it's impossible to hold. Long days, long nights, dreaming of you, my eyes wide. Can't separate sleep from wake. Where am I now? 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 Where am I now?
Oh, yeah, folks. How have you enjoyed that piece of sonic brilliance there? That was brilliant, I thought. And indeed, it was so good, it was the most recent single. In fact, the title track as well of Camarano's debut, brand new album. I've had so many artists that we've interviewed that have put out EPs and not albums, and it's ingrained in me. However, I digress. It's the album, folks. It's an EP, but you stick more songs in it. It's the album Where Am I Now? And that was the very bad introduction to tell you that was the title track, Where Am I Now? After I've blundered my way through that intro, let's introduce the guest, Camarano himself, all the way from Perth, just doing his thing. Matt, can you hear me?
Hey, Daniel. Yeah, you really nailed that intro. Good job.
Yeah, woo, woo. 10 out of 10.
Nice.
Just
nice.
like the album. I mean, congrats, first of all. Good job.
Thanks, mate.
It's a bloody good record. Some say so myself. I was getting a lot of really interesting themes out of it. I've only listened to it. I mean, I've listened to it a few times in the last 24 hours, but I've only really properly had a good listen to the whole thing since yesterday. And I must say, if that was my album, I'd be very impressed. You must feel pretty proud of yourself.
I am indeed. I'm curious, what themes did you pick out of it?
Well, I was going to get into that soon, but I did. It's a little teaser, folks. I got themes of like apathy and yeah, apathy was, if you're going to describe it in one word, I would have put it as apathetic or apathetic. Yeah. Is that the correct term? Yeah.
Yeah, apathetic.
Apathetic, yeah. There's like a lot of, you could tell it was a 2020 album. Like, no shit. If you're going to, there was a year to feel apathy about everyone else, it was definitely last year. And you know why? Because, you're all isolated in that. You can't deal, there's no way for you to deal with other people's bullshit because other people's bullshit is no longer within your sphere. I don't know. Would you agree?
Yeah, that's an interesting. I mean, it's. I always like hearing how people connect with music and how the same song can be interpreted a million ways. So I don't think I was coming from that place because most of the songs were written
Yeah.
COVID. So I wasn't channeling that emotion, but I mean, just generally, I mean, songs do come from that place for me. But I did produce it during lockdown. So yeah, there's every chance some of that energy got in there.
I was going to say, do you reckon the fact that you did record it in the period that, that it was, changed either the tone or the outcome of the songs in any way?
Undoubtedly, yeah. It actually took a while to get going because I started the album. The plan was to make it a bit more band focused, and that's how it started. We recorded the drums at a studio and sort of poised to take it to the next step. But after that, lockdown kicked in. So I had to do the rest of it by myself. So I played the rest of the instruments, the programming. And yeah, there's no doubt that being in that headspace would have affected the sonic character of the songs. I mean, everything, whatever you're going through affects it.
Well, I mean, how many of the songs were pre-COVID? Because you did mention that some of them are.
Well, I mean, I wrote all of the songs pre-COVID.
Yeah.
And I had a sonic idea in mind before. So I had some kind of vision for maybe 50% of them. And the others were just in bare bones form, and the production was defined during lockdown. But yeah, most of the songs, the content, the sentiment, that was all sorted. I had the songs for a while.
I mean, did you have? Well, at what point were you in the pre-planning or pre-recording or even recording phase before lockdown happened? Because was that you pretty far within that process, or was it really just sort of, in the ether, so to speak, at that point in time?
Well, yeah, before lockdown, I had demos for all the songs. I had real drums for the songs that needed it. And for most of them, I had a sonic flavor or a direction, some kind of vision for how it was to end. But inevitably during the process, that did shift. Some took on a new angle. They took a shift.
I was going to say, when you were recording it though, were you finding it hard to actually focus then because you had, well, I guess, less distractions than you would have otherwise? Or actually, that didn't make sense, did it? I was going to say, did you find it easier because of the less distractions, or worse because you would find it easier to procrastinate without anybody there telling you to stop procrastinating?
Yeah, I mean, it took maybe 3 weeks to get into it. I just felt like I was floating. I felt untethered from reality. I don't know what was going on. The things that I usually held on to, like that provided some stability with work and with relationships or, social engagements. Those things weren't happening anymore. Just a level of uncertainty that everyone was living in. It made it difficult to engage in the album making process. But after 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, it proved really important. It actually did the opposite. It gave me something to hold on to, something stable to put my energy and effort into. I think that's the most important thing that this album did for me. It just allowed me to process and get through that phase in a healthy way.
I was going to ask, did somebody have to say something to you to get you from phase A to phase B where you were focused on everything, or was it entirely internal?
Yeah, it's just it was mainly, it's all internally driven. I mean, I did lean on my friends during that time, just, over Zoom, and we'd talk about what we're up to, and they would encourage me to continue. But it was self-driven, just like it is for any independent artist. It's up to you.
Yeah, because you weren't really working at for any time frames. There was no deadline you had to have the album out by, was there?
No. Well, I mean, I got a grant. I was lucky enough to get funding to make the album, and the original idea was to release it late last year. But because of the situation I was able to get an extension on it, which meant that any kind of deadline was pretty loose.
You got the money and the time.
Yeah, it was. I mean,
pretty
so
bloody lucky.
So lucky. Yeah. So fortunate.
Who was the grant from, by the way?
The Department of Culture and the Arts.
Ah, you have a Department of Culture over in WA. I see.
Yeah,
they're trying to install some culture where there isn't any. Is that the idea?
Potentially, but they're super supportive. Honestly, really supportive, and all my friends who are we want to make music and are trying to make music viable as a career. I always suggest going there as a first place, because it's hard to make your money back when you make an album. It's expensive.
I mean, how has the reception been since release? Because it has been a few weeks now.
Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks. It's been really, really good. Lots of friends have been getting in touch and saying they're connecting with it. Lots of strangers, which is surprising considering it feels like it's very personal to me. So it's always surprising when someone connects with a song that you feel like it's so specific to yourself. But I suppose people are connecting to the overall human element. It's not necessarily specifics in the song. They can see something in themselves, reflected back.
I was going to say, you mentioned like some strangers have sort of mentioned that they've liked it. I was going to say, what's been the weirdest comparison so far to your style? Like, have you had anyone come up to you and say, oh, you sound like this? And you go, I've never listened to them, but sure.
One of the weirdest, but also most flattering is I get Bob Dylan a little bit. I think it's because of the nasal quality in my vocal tone. So I get that more often than
I feel like you're not a proper songwriter until that comparison's been drawn. Like before then, you're not like the real. You haven't been blessed by that comparison. Then it's like the magic, the magic wand coming down from heaven, or the magic finger of God going. You are now a real songwriter. Ha, ha, ha.
Exactly.
You suddenly like your voice gets more nasally. Start talking about the things going on.
Exactly.
Government.
Exactly. I think it's less about my songwriting ability and just about the super nasal singing that he does.
Yeah, do you reckon it's just a superficial thing? Because people go, oh, that Bob Dylan, he couldn't sing properly, and they don't realize what he was singing about. Do you reckon it's a sort of a superficial thing, or do you think there's actually a bit more going on there?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I think it's mainly superficial. I mean, I would be absolutely flattered to be in that sort of comparison. The dude is a genius.
He isn't dead yet. Come on.
No, I said is.
Oh, I thought you said was.
No, I said is.
You're not going for the old Paul McCartney died in 1967 trick, are you?
I am not.
He's not the real Bob Dylan.
Bob Dylan is well and truly alive. He's still putting out great music.
Yeah, to the chagrin of some, I'm sure.
Yes.
Well, what is your opinion on old rockers like that? They just you reckon it's a good on you sort of thing? I was like, no, you should have stopped in 97.
No, I love to see it. And I love McCartney still releasing music. Obviously Bob Dylan, I love to see it. I mean, some of it I don't connect with as much, but the act of putting out music, it's good. I want to see people making music for life, because I feel like I'll be doing that.
Yeah. Well, that's a good aim to have, really.
Yeah, I want to be a grandpa, and like Pop's just released his 42nd album or whatever. And
it's a lot of albums between now and there. This is only number one. Is it going to be an album every 3 months, is it? That home studio is going to get a real workout, Matt.
I might be jumping the gun at 42, but it'd be, I mean, if my grandma or my granddad were releasing music, I'd be right onto it. I'd be going to their album launches. I'd be buying a copy, there's no doubt.
Well, what's your favorite example of just someone aging gracefully in the industry? As either an artist or a songwriter, because some of them they might be releasing music, but you can tell they're trying to relive the glory days, whereas some embrace their age and they really try and reinvent themselves. And at work, like sometimes it can work, sometimes it not so much, depending on your opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to say McCartney.
You reckon McCartney? That's a fair pick.
He's still releasing music. He's collaborating with, contemporary artists. And it's clear that he still is in love with the process of making a song.
There was a real interesting interview because, that he did a few years ago when he came out with that song with Kanye.
Yeah. With Rihanna?
And then he did a bit of that, like with a few songs with them. And you know how a lot of Beatles fans, like it's like the old generation, music's not like it used to be. Yeah. But then when people ask that, like, well, what do you say to the people like in fans and people that are like that? Do you agree with them or not? And he goes, well, pop music is still doing good stuff. It's still doing different stuff, but like he was still seemed actively interested. Like, but the answer he gave. So I'm trying to paraphrase here, and it sounds terrible, but the point that he was making was that no, the pop music and the music that's coming out today is still fine. It's just different, and it's not going to be the same. You're not going to expect the same music that we came out with, but you're going to expect something different. But that doesn't mean it's bad. I was like, that's probably a good mindset to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you reckon? I was going to say that might lead into an interesting point. Like, do you expect your style to change much as you move forward?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I think the underlying principles will remain the same, but I always find I make the best stuff when I'm most engaged in the process, and usually that's from being stimulated by something I haven't explored before. So like a new synth patch, or maybe a chord progression that I haven't written a song around, or it could be even an effect that I find in using a plugin. It really can come from anywhere. But yeah, I think like as the creator of my music, just seeing it progress over the 2 EPs and now album, I see a fair amount of variation in what I make. So I would assume, and I hope that pattern continues, because that's when I make my best stuff, or that's when I'm most proud in the material, when it feels fresh.
I was going to say, on that point, you're talking about like, new patches coming out, new sounds, new something going on.
Yeah.
Makes you think that you don't normally think about it, but no, when you do, you go, there's got to be a hardcore fanboy, group or fangirl. It's not gender specific here, but just a fan group of people latching onto every single patch that fucking that fucking Korg puts out. Like, check out this new synth sound, or check out this new plugin we got. And they'd be like, straight onto it. But there would be a fan group that loves that shit, wouldn't there?
Absolutely. Yeah. No doubt.
You're not that far up the spectrum, I'm guessing.
Well, I just gravitate to what excites me, and usually it's something I haven't done yet.
Yeah. Was there anything you learnt process-wise when putting the album together that you didn't realise was that important when you started?
Something that I learned about making songs that I didn't realise beforehand? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, or just something that you realised or came to the conclusion that was important that you might not have realised or didn't really think would be important before. Did you? But it's the long-winded way of saying, have you learnt anything, Matt?
I learned that I got to make something fast, really, before there's room for doubt to creep in. The best stuff, it seems to happen very quickly. It feels like a race to complete it. When there's one of those ideas, you kind of get this giddy emotion, like you've got to go for a run or something, and it's this race to finish it, to fully realize it. That was the main thing. I've taken that with me.
It's an interesting perspective because it's not normally one you hear, but so it contradicts your statement about there being no time frames before. But so it's really not so much a time frame as just I've got to try and beat. If it's like a PB, it's like I've got to get this done while it's still fresh. So that's a really cool way of thinking about it.
And sometimes it just takes a lot of exploration to get to that point. I'm not saying that you'll stumble upon that immediately, but when you do, when you find that thing, you know it, and it's just like, go, this is it, this is the one. hurry up before it goes to someone else grabs it. You know, it's floating around like a cloud or something, and you're trying to pluck at it.
I was going to ask about the different tracks because they've obviously been around for a little while. You said you've written them all at least a year or so ago now.
Yep.
Like, how many of them were disconnected from each other originally and you end up finding out that they worked really well together? Or was it a case of that you wrote them all going, right, this is going to make a nice, concise record? Where were you on that sort of spectrum?
I wrote 35 songs for the album. And I gravitated to ones that they just felt like they belonged. There were some songs that I wrote that are still pretty good that I might use at a later date, but they didn't feel part of this body of work. So yeah, I just wrote lots. I wrote and produced a lot of music, and pretty early on, it was clear which ones had a golden thread that was connecting them together. And then it was just a matter of, okay, what role is each song having, and how do I best serve the sentiment in that song?
Was there a particular theme that you had in mind for it, or was it just something that was in your subconscious? Like you go, this sort of matches, but I can't quite put my finger on it. Yeah,
I can't articulate it as a one theme, but there are several topics which it explores, and they're all related. It's kind of like they're in the same postcode.
Yeah. Sort of, were you thinking of similar things when you wrote them, just sort of different perspectives of similar events or ideas, or was it really these inspirations came from different areas and you go, well, no, you know what? When in hindsight, that actually sort of matches and intertwines itself, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely the latter. It's more, I made this song. It expresses these kind of themes. It is loosely connected to this other song that I made. They would probably work together as a partnership.
I was going to say so obviously you said you had a lot of songs to go when you're putting the album together. Had to do a lot of cutting, as is pretty common in this sort of game. I was going to say, you normally one of those people that has to go, right, I have to finish the song. Like, regardless of how shit it might sound, regardless of what it might be, I have to finish it, get it done, then work it out? Or do you find that if something isn't working, you'll have a lot of trouble finishing the song and it'll just be gone? So are you left with a lot of snippets, or are you left at the end of the day with completed songs that you need to get rid of?
With the actual songwriting, I have to finish it, regardless of how good or how shit it is.
Yeah.
But with the production stage, yeah, I'd be happy to bail on an idea if it's not coming together, because that's I don't know if it's going to get to the end until that part. And the songwriting part, it feels like I need to get to the end, because if I don't finish it, then it's going to rear its head in some way. Just get it out of your system.
So you reckon you reckon that there's a release with actually completing it that means you can sort of let it go, so to speak?
Exactly. Yeah, it frees up some space in the brain, and you can, like, it's just as important to get shitty ideas out of your brain as it is to get the good ones, because next time that idea won't get into a decent song, you know? Yeah.
You reckon, so you're really of the opinion that it sounds like, you know, like the ratio of like the 9 bad songs to 1 good song sort of thing. Like you get the 10 shitty ones out of the way, and there will be some gold.
Yeah, I think my ratio is like, out of every 10 songs, there's 1 that's great. There's probably 3 to 5 that are good, and the rest are just shit.
At what point do you have to cut? Like, have you ever had the experience where there's one what you thought was really good, and then it turns out after, I don't know whether you've played it live or whether you start hearing opinions of everyone else, that you realise that it's probably not as good as you thought it was?
Yeah, absolutely. But
does that happen commonly? is that a common occurrence?
No, it's not that common. Mainly if I have some confidence and conviction in the song, that usually comes across to other people as a rule of thumb. But yeah, it has on occasion, I've been so convinced about a song, and you bring it to your band to rehearse it and no one is getting into it. It's just you. You're just having a great time. Everyone else is like, what is this? What is this trash?
Well, I guess this one's for the acoustic album, folks.
Exactly.
So there's one on the album that was like just your voice with like I'm guessing it was like a modulator or a vocoder or something like that.
Yeah, vocoder.
As like you go, well, that'll be a vocoder song by the sounds of it.
Yeah, that song in particular had a strange and winding path. It used to be a rock song, and then it used to be an acoustic singer-songwriter song, and then I just stumbled upon that. Just messing around on my keyboard. I just was like, I wonder if that would work. And yeah, it felt like the most pure expression of that idea. And it kind of, in a weird way, felt funny to express those lyrics in that setting. It had had a dark humor to it, which I haven't really expressed a lot in my music. So that's another idea of finding a way to be fully engaged in an idea. You know, keep yourself as excited about it, because if you're not excited, then no one else is going to be.
Do you reckon there is sort of there's an underlying personal humor or within some of your songs that people just don't pick up on because it's just too obscure?
I think so. Maybe not obscure, but with that particular song you're talking about, Bored, the lyrics are very dark. I mean, it's talking about depression, but I'm trying to present it in a way that the lyrics is so they're so upfront and so personal that it somehow comes across as funny. I don't know how to express it. I don't know if it comes across to anyone else that way, but to me, it sounds funny.
Is it because that's the best way of dealing with it? Because you just go, well, this is just so serious and just mind-bogglingly depressing. There's no other sane reaction than to laugh.
I think that's a coping mechanism that a lot of us use, including myself, when shit gets real, is to rely on humor to offset it.
I was going to say, how much do you reckon that your own mental health has influenced the themes and I guess the writings behind some of these lyrics? Like, do you reckon it features more predominantly than you realised at the time?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's some lyrics that I hear back now, and at the moment of writing it, you're not really sure what they mean. And then, you might listen to it back months later when you hear it on the radio or something, and you're like, that's what I meant. That's where I was coming from.
So you reckon there's it sounds like your subconscious is very, well, let's say co-writer in this. Yeah. It's out there sprouting lines that you just don't know what they mean, Oh yeah, the subconscious definitely gets heavily involved, but that's usually where the best lyric ideas live anyway. The subconscious has got all the best material. Is that why you have to write quickly? Because you reckon if you pay too much attention to it, you just go, What the fuck is this about?
That's honestly it. Yeah, as soon as your rational brain kicks in, it starts saying like, what are you doing, mate? This is terrible, this idea. But if you stick with your instinct and you finish it quick enough, you might have a chance of fully realizing it.
Yeah. It's an interesting observation, really.
Yeah.
With I want to mention too, you actually had your album launch the other day too, on the 20th of March. Normally we would be at this point in time saying, go to his album launch. You won't regret it. But in this case, it's already happened. And my question is, did you regret it, or was it amazing?
It was really good.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I loved it. It was great, tying a bow on the album. It felt like a bookend to the process. And it's always great when your friends and family come support you for something that you're really proud of. And yeah, people connected with the songs. It was a great night.
Was it the first show you've done in ages?
It was actually the second. We played maybe a month beforehand, But yeah, it's been a while since we've been playing shows, so it was nice to get stuck into it again.
Yeah, a band show, was it?
Yeah, it was a band show.
Nice. So, I mean, how did you find the songs translated from that solo I'm doing it in bedroom sort of setting to the let's play it live with a band?
Well, for some of the songs we used backing tracks, and we tried to play it pretty faithful to the album version. Other ones we had to find a way to engage with the song, so we might have changed the arrangement of the song or made it more like a garage band, version of the song. So it's immediate, which, it generally suits the live setting. It was just about finding ways to keep the songs engaging in this new setting and not being too attached to the album version if it didn't work.
Yeah, no, because if you do it exactly word for word or beat for beat, exactly like the album, it gets a bit repetitive.
Yeah, well, that works for some of the songs, with backing tracks, but for others, it didn't work. It just was not exciting to play.
Yeah. You got to give your band a shout out too, because they do. There's a lot of work involved in then, putting these songs together, trying to get whipped as you try and maintain your vision.
Yeah, they're the best. I really appreciate my band. They're awesome.
So, you reckon you'll be doing more shows this year coming up in the coming months?
Probably not in the coming months because I'm about to be a dad actually in the next month. So that'll be my focus until I know what I'm doing.
I want to say congratulations, and I hope that goes amazingly.
Yep, as do I.
And obviously, that's going to be what album number 2 will be about.
It'll probably just be kids songs.
Kids,
which apparently is lucrative.
So I've been told. Was it with the Wiggles being the richest performers in Australia?
Yeah, absolutely.
You've been taking very, 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 you're a very astute learner by the sounds of it, Matt.
Yeah, so next album will just be either lullabies or kid songs.
Yeah, again, well done with everything, Matt. It's been really cool going into depth about your processes and how you've managed to get this project together with the record.
Yeah, cheers for having me, dude. It's been a nice chat.
I was going to say, we're going to play one of the non-single songs of the album soon. In fact, it's the closer. It's called "Came Without Warning." You mentioned it was one of your favourites, or one of the standout tracks for you for us to play. So what I wanted to know was why that is the case. Was there something about the themes behind it, or the way you recorded it, that sort of stood out for you?
Yeah, I think it really sums up the album, and it's very personal and intimate. The lyrics and almost sums me up as an individual and my relationship to music.
So in all, do you reckon the album was unintentionally a sort of a love story or so between you and your love of music, you reckon?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is about exploring the relationship I have with music, the good, and also my tendency to perhaps rely too heavily on it for my own self-regulation.
Yeah.
Instead of, it can be, you can develop an unhealthy obsession, which I've only recently realized if that's your only real outlet for self-expression, you can get lost in it. And that's exactly what pretty much the first song, Where Am I Now, and the last song, Came Without Warning, explore. And that's really the golden thread with the whole album. I'm only realizing it recently, pretty much now, talking to you. And that's what the album is about.
It's very philosophical here. It's just, you just like to tie things together.
Yeah, I think there's a thread there. I think I just cracked the code.
Oh yeah. Well, we got there eventually. It's all good. It only took us half an hour to do so. I mean, it's cool that you talk about that, and yet it sounds like then the album's book ended brilliantly, which is what you really want to achieve with an album, isn't it?
Yep.
So we are going to play Came Without Warning real soon. But of course, Matt, where can people find your socials, your music, that sort of thing? Yeah,
all the usual places, Instagram and Facebook and Spotify. Yeah, wherever. My stuff's there.
Wherever and whenever. It's there.
Yeah, exactly. It's
there to stream when you're feeling lonely and depressed.
Yeah, hopefully not just that.
Just like a comforting. No, I'm trying to sell this to the market that just plays it on repeat. Wink, wink.
Exactly. Get those stats up.
No, play it when you're happy as well. All the more excuse to play it. I say,
exactly.
The more the merrier. No, Matt, thank you so much for coming in and chatting with me today. It's been real fun. Make sure you go and check out the record too when you get a chance, and Matt's music. And of course, wherever he ends up, if he does end up playing some more shows later in the year, please do check them out if you can, if you're in the area. Matt, thanks again. It's been real fun.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. That was awesome.
Do you want to take us out on the track? Tell us what we're about to listen to and who you are.
Yes, I can do that. This is Camarano. You're listening to Came Without Warning from my album Where Am I Now?
Brilliant.
It came without warning. A song on the radio. It cut through the static and made me pull over. You'll have to forgive me. I am not usually this dramatic. You caught me in a panic. Since I can't
AustralianMusiciansRadio.com.